Hey guys, I'm again with your mind-blowing videos. In this video, we are going to see the footings of a building or what we call as the foundations. Why does a building need the foundations? Because a building has a massive amount of weight and the building itself cannot carry that weight and needs a little help from the foundations so that the soil can carry the weight of the building. So let's get started. There we are. Now imagine that there is a big building. I'm drawing as a small building and it has a straight pillar for carrying the weight and the soil is there. Then the soil would bend like this because there is extreme pressure on one point and there is very low pressure on the other points, which can cause the building to break up in cracks or even complete failure, crash of the building. For avoiding that, civil engineers use a trick with the foundations. Now let's see what they do first. First, civil engineers obviously have something like a crane or something to dig up the soil. Now what they do is, they dig up the soil into one layer and put the entire weight. They calculate the weight and then make something with the same weight. If the soil just bends a bit or compresses down, then the soil is not good for the building. And then the civil engineers again dig up one more layer, and if that layer is also not good, then they'll not put the foundations over there. And the last layer, for example, if it is good, then they'll put the foundation here. Now let's see what the civil engineer has done next. This civil engineer is a bad civil engineer, not a good one, and just thinks that you have to put one. But as told at the first, the building would crash because the soil would bend like this. Now let's come to the good civil engineer, which knows all these things. Now, what the good one has done is, he didn't just keep one stake, one pillar to carry the weight, but an entire different thing called as a pad. This pad is a little bit thick pad, and also the job is to distribute the entire weight of the building evenly so that the building would not crash. No, the building would stay upright and strong. But what if it took a lot of money to just make a little bit of this, and we need to make this entire one would cost a lot of money? What do civil engineers do for this? Would they bash their heads or think of a solution? Now they already thought of a solution here. The good civil engineer said that we can use a trapezoidal footing. What is this trapezoidal footing? The trapezoidal footing is an alternative to this pad footing, so that this extra space required for making a pad footing is not there. And in the trapezoidal footing, this space is not there. But still, the foundation is effective. But how? Because the civil engineer told that please test this, and the scientists proved that it was alright. Why? Because where the pillar is, the weight, for example, imagine that this is the equator, and that the equator, like how the earth receives lots of sun rays and lots of heat, it also receives lots of pressure, so it has to be a real thick here. Understand? But that real thickness in the edges is not needed because it doesn't receive much pressure. Pressure decreases and also the thickness too decreases a lot. Now let's see one more thing. Imagine that the pair footing is like this and it is not thick. For example, imagine that it is half the size. It is only this much size. Means it is only half this much size. Then if the soil layer bends, this pair footing will become unstable with too much of weight in here, and this causes the pair footing to break up in the middle because there is no support for it, and the building will again crash. But civil engineers found a solution for this. They made it extra thick. So they made it extra thick, very, very, very thick. Double the thickness of this. Double the thickness of this. So that even if the soil bends, this extra half provides support to this real foundation. And thus, the building wouldn't collapse. And that results in a strong building in which you are living. Now, one more important thing is in here. For example, imagine that you are building your building. So imagine that you are the civil engineer and you are building the building in your land 1, and just next to that, there is land 2. So it's not 1. This is 1. Land 1 is the land you are working in, and land 2 is the some other person's land. Now, if your footings are too small, there is not enough space, and they want to cross this border, then will the land 2 owner agree? Of course not. Now, what should they do? Should they reject the project and again get confused, or should they think of a solution? What they do is, now first I'm gonna tell you the half solution and then the full solution. The half solution is they just decrease the size of the footing at the end so that they don't enter into land 2. Now, this footing is less effective than this full footing. So what happens? The bearing weight is reduced, but the building's bearing weight is more than it. So this would get cracks, everything else, and the building would crash backward. And why? Because here only there is the defect here. You see this defect, right? There is no complete footing over here. But what do civil engineers do? That is, they connect these two, this complete footing and this incomplete footing together, so that if the pressure becomes too high over here, the pressure in here is distributed like this and to this, so that in this a little bit of pressure is there and this in the little bit of pressure is there, so the building becomes more stable. But if the civil engineers realize that they have put these pillars too close to each other, then what they just simply do is they connect these together, which is again an effective way, and they put a very small pipe, like this. What happens is they put the pillars too close together, and then they just mix these two footings together, and then put a small pipe in here and save everything. So the pressure over here, the extreme pressure over the backside gets distributed to this quicker. In this also it's a little bit it's equally effective. but in this it is also equally effective. Now we have learned all the concepts and the things required for building a foundation, a strong one. Now bye bye to you all, and subscribe my channel and like my videos for more interesting things like this, and see you again someday. Bye bye.